a soldier, a diplomat, an advisor to presidents, Republican and Democrat. A life dedicated to service, a life of breaking barriers. We learned today not only of his death, but of his private battle with COVID. He was fully vaccinated, but now we've learned of his other private health battles that put him at increased risk. And tonight here, the tributes now pouring in. President Biden ordering flags to half-staff, calling Powell a, quote, patriot of unmatched honor and dignity. He grew up in the Bronx, the son of immigrants. He found his calling in the U.S. military. Tonight, what he said, how it felt when he first put on that uniform. 2 tours in Vietnam, rising to 4-star general, and the nation's top military leader, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He then served as Secretary of State, the first black man to serve in both of those roles. It was as Secretary of State he made the case for the second U.S. invasion of Iraq, the weapons of mass destruction that later the world would learn did not exist. What he told Marquis about that moment. Colin Powell worked for 4 presidents and put country ahead of party, and tonight he is being remembered and honored by presidents, diplomats, and by the men and women in uniform. Martha Raddatz, who covered General Powell for years, himself.
Tonight, the nation remembering General Colin Powell, a trailblazing leader, a diplomat, a soldier, a patriot who served as the first black Secretary of State, first black chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and first black national security advisor. This to Ronald Reagan. Today, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, the country's first black Pentagon chief, who looked to Powell as a mentor and friend, saying Powell's death leaves a hole in his heart.
The world lost one of the greatest leaders that we have ever witnessed.
President Biden ordering flags to be flown at half-staff, saying Colin embodied the highest ideals of both warrior and diplomat, adding he put country before self, before party, before all else, in uniform and out.
Not only a dear friend and a patriot, one of our great military leaders, a man of overwhelming decency.
Powell died of complications from COVID-19 at Walter Reed Medical Center. He was 84. A spokeswoman revealing Powell had been battling a rare blood cancer called multiple myeloma and Parkinson's too. Doctors say the blood cancer can weaken the immune system, making him more vulnerable, even though he was fully vaccinated. He had been scheduled for the booster right when he came down with COVID. Powell's journey was an American journey. Born to Jamaican immigrants in Harlem, Powell grew up in the Bronx, joining the Army ROTC in college, serving 2 combat tours in Vietnam. Powell once said when he first put on a uniform, he liked what he saw. Powell would soon break through barriers, becoming a 4-star general, serving under 4 presidents, Republican and Democrat. In 1991, overseeing the successful Gulf War, when the U.S. ousted Iraqi President Saddam Hussein from Kuwait. His most controversial moment coming more than 10 years later. In 2003, as Secretary of State, during a speech to the UN, Powell made the case for war, telling the world of Iraq's weapons of mass destruction.
The gravity of this moment is matched by the gravity of the threat that Iraq's weapons of mass destruction pose to the world.
Those weapons did not exist. The intelligence was flawed. Telling ABC's Barbara Walters he felt terrible about the claims made in that speech.
Do you think this blot on your record will stay with you for the rest of your life?
Well, it's of course it's a blot. I'm the one who presented it on behalf of the United Nations, the United States, to the world, and it will always be part of my record.
How painful was that?
It was painful. It's painful.
Tonight, former President George W. Bush calling Powell a great public servant. Bill and Hillary Clinton saying he was a courageous soldier, a skilled commander, a dedicated diplomat, and a good and decent man. President Obama saying he embodied what America can and should be. General Powell, in his own words, on a life lived.
My life's been blessed because I've had a chance to serve my country, and I've had a chance to do things that benefited my country. And when it's all over, I just hope they say, he's a good soldier, he did a good job, raised a good family, and God bless him. That's all I ask for.
Powerful words from General Powell tonight. Martha with us from Washington. And Martha, we know many Republicans wanted Powell to run for president along the way. He famously resisted, and it was often reported that his wife, Alma, was not keen on the idea.
She was not, David, and I think she was largely concerned about his safety. And in the end, he really didn't want to run for president, because whenever you ask Colin Powell whether he wanted to be called secretary or general, he would always say general, because he was a soldier at heart, a good soldier. David?
I know that was something you asked him along the way, Martha. Thank you.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube.
Shalom. Give all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahshua Shem Rakakadash. Give honors to the elders and apostles for their education and knowledge, and to Wadi Yahweh Shem Yahshua for putting the spirit of elders apostles so we can become edified regarding this truth of knowledge. Call it Yahweh Shem Yahshua Shem Rakakadash. Give all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahshua Shem Rakakadash. That was a couple days ago relating to ABC News talking about passing of General Colin Powell. Saying he's a trailblazer. I'm going to look up that word trailblazer. It's a regular definition meaning a pioneer and inventor. So pioneer, inventor. And basically, is a person who's first to do something, man. What was the trailblazers, to set a mark, set a trail, pretty much for the next man to follow. Let's get it for the etymology. To mark, trail, tree, trail, you, cutting, piece, bark. Get this. To mark the tree, trail, cutting, bark. And that trail goes back to cutting a mark in the bark relating to a tree. So in this matter of speaking, setting that mark, setting that trail, leaving that trail for the next to follow and being the first to do it. So that would be our trailblazer. This is a noun. Someone who marks a trail by leaving blazes on trees. So they're marking something. Someone who helps to open up a new line or research or technology or art. A pioneer, innovator, first to do something. So he's the first, a groundbreaker to set at the level he achieved, man. At his level, man. Let's go to a few scriptures. It's going to be short. John 15, 18, and 19. If the world hate you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. Because ultimately he wasn't of the world, man, so the world hated him. But if you were of the world will love his own. So if you're of the world world's going to love his own. For example, General Colin Powell, he's of the world, so the world will love him, man. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, because you're of the world, but you're not of the world, because your ways are separate of the world. Therefore, the world will hate you, because you're not of the world. Relating to that mindset, carnally and spiritually, you're not of the ways of the world, so the world's not going to accept you and hate you, man. But if you're of the world will love you, because the world loves its own, man. Let's go to Luke 6:26. Woe unto you when all men speak well of you. For so did the fathers to the prophets, to the false prophets. So woe unto them that speak well of you, man. Now, if you're of the world, they're going to speak well of you because they love their own. So if they love their own, they're going to speak well of them because they're a part of that establishment of the world. But woe unto them that do speak well anyway, because it may not be as true as it might appear, man. It could be actually a lie. Let's go to James 4:4. Ye adulterers and adulterers, which pretty much is sinners, know ye not the friendship of the world is an enmity. Enmity is an adversary or enemy to the Lord, man. Read that again. Ye adulterers and adulterers, know ye not that the friendship of the world is an enmity with Yahweh. Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is an enemy of Yahweh. So anybody who's a friend of the world ultimately is an enemy of Yahweh, man. So the ways of the world is an enemy of Yahweh. The mindset of the ways of the world is an enemy to the Lord. And everything that's relating to its characteristic and traits of the world are enemy to ultimately to Yahweh B'Shem Yashab, man. So if you have that way, that philosophy, that ideologies and doctrines and ways of the world, you ultimately an enemy of Yahweh B'Shem Yashab, man, because you come in contrary to that, man. Now this is something short. I didn't want to make a whole long lesson, just a few verses on it. We'll give all praise to Yahweh B'Shem Yashab B'Shem Rakakadash. His brother Zayah Wolf. Shalom. Thanks.